Well, good morning, youth. Yesterday we looked at how God's hidden providence was working, even in the midst of very difficult times for the Israelites. They were being more and more oppressed by the Egyptians, and eventually Pharaoh instigated a murder infanticide program to try to curb their growth so that they would not become a threat to Egypt. Yet all of that not only did not work, but God used it to bring about the very thing that Pharaoh was concerned would happen and was trying to prevent the escape of God's people from Egypt. Yet remember, the people don't actually know that's what's going on. They probably thought God had forgotten about them, or at least many of them. Yet there are still some who lived in faith in God, even in the hard times. Look at the beginning of chapter 2, verses 1 to 4. Now a man from the house of Levi went and took as a wife a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she took for him, a basket made of bulrushes, and daubed it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the river. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. Now, this is a remarkable family. It really is. I think they'd be really tempted to think, no, we shouldn't marry. We shouldn't have kids right now. Because if it's a boy, Pharaoh will kill it. This is not a time when we should bring kids into the world. It would be cruel to do that, or something like that. Yet this man and this woman know that even though life is very hard, they could still trust God. They could still trust God to care for them as they sought to obey him, to be fruitful and multiply, as God commanded them to do when they went down to Egypt, and as God commanded humanity to do back in Genesis 1. In fact, Moses' parents even make it into the Faith Hall of Fame, so to speak, in Hebrews 11, verse 23, where the author of Hebrews writes, "By faith Moses, when he was born, was hid for 3 months by his parents, because they saw that the child was beautiful, and they were not afraid of the king's edict." They were not afraid of Pharaoh's edict and of suffering. They trusted God, so they went on with the normal ways of life, marrying and having children. And kids, this is why we're continuing to do worship and to try to keep up all the normal bits of life, like lessons and Christian education, even though life is really hard right now. That's why we're still sending devotionals out. That's why we're still sending lessons out. Even though we're in a difficult situation, life goes on. We still trust God. We still study his word. We still worship him. We still love our neighbors as best we can safely. Hard times do not stop the normal parts of life from continuing on, the normal things that God has given us. Yet notice that what Moses' parents also do here. They were wise as well. They certainly trusted God, but they also took safety precautions. They hid Moses for as long as they could, and then when they could hide him no longer, they put him into a basket, into the hands of God. I mean, can you imagine how hard that would be for a parent to do? Some of your parents are imagining this right now when they have to release you into the hands of God when you grow up. But even here, it would be even harder. Moses' mother has to put him into the Nile, the very place where baby boys are dying every day. And she literally puts him into an ark. That's the Hebrew word here for basket. She puts him in an ark and in the hand of God, trusting that God will find someone to care for him. I think we can assume that she trusted God would bring someone to care for him, because I don't think she would have sent her daughter to watch him if she thought he was going to get murdered. You see, we see here a healthy trust, a healthy balance between trusting God and also doing what is wise and good during hard times. We need to strive for that balance as well. That's why even now we're trying to figure out how best to begin reassembling together as the governor gives us permission to do so. That is something that God commands us to do when we are able to do it, to assemble as a congregation. But we also have to be wise and do it and not take unnecessary risks to our own health and to the health of our community. Trust in God does not mean that we do unwise things. Yet it also yet it also means that we strive to continue with the normal parts of life that he has given us as best we can. And we know we can trust him because he sent his son, Jesus, into the Nile, so to speak. He sent Jesus into this world, but unlike Moses' parents, he knew that when he did that, Jesus would die. And he loves us so much that he did it anyways. That's why we can trust him, like Moses' parents did. So you guys think about that, and I'll see you on Monday.